Part 1. The Shortcut. The decision to leave the trail wasn't made in a moment of panic, but in a moment of arrogance. "The map is old, Jenna," Leo said, tapping the screen of his GPS unit. "But the topography hasn't changed. If we cut through this ravine, we shave 3 miles off the loop and we beat the sunset. It's simple geometry." Jenna adjusted the straps of her heavy pack, looking at the dense wall of pines that lined the path. The Appalachian Trail was well marked here, a comforting ribbon of dirt and white blazes. Leaving it felt like stepping off the edge of the world. But her feet were blistered, and the silence between them, a cold, heavy thing that had lasted since they left the car park 6 hours ago, was exhausting her more than the incline. "Okay," she said softly. "Lead the way." They descended into the ravine. The air changed instantly. The crisp autumn breeze of the ridge died, replaced by a stagnant, damp stillness. The light seemed to struggle to reach the forest floor here. The canopy was a tangled knot of hemlock and ancient oak choking out the sky. For the first hour, they made good time. Leo was moving with a frantic energy, the kind he always adopted when he was trying to prove he was right. Jenna followed, watching his boots crush ferns and moss. "See?" Leo called back, though he didn't turn around. "We're already hitting the valley floor. We'll be at the car by 6 p.m. Jenna didn't answer. She was looking at the trees. They were wrong. On the ridge, the trees grew straight. Here they twisted. The trunks were gnarled and bulbous, looking less like wood than more like arthritic limbs frozen in agony. And it was quiet. Not the peaceful quiet of nature, but the holding its breath quiet of a room where an argument has just ended. No birds, no squirrels, just the wet thud of their boots. Around 4:30 p.m., the fog rolled in. It didn't drift. It materialized. One moment the visibility was 50 yards, the next it was 10. It was a thick, oily gray mist that tasted of copper and wet wool. Jenna called out. "Slow down. I can barely see you." "I'm right here," Leo's voice came from the gray. He sounded annoyed. "Just follow the sound of my footsteps." They walked for another hour. The ground began to slope upward, which was wrong. They were supposed to be following a stream bed out to the highway. "Leo, check the GPS," Jenna said, stopping. Her breath plumed in the cooling air. Leo stopped a few paces ahead. She could only see his silhouette. He stood there for a long time. "Leo?" "Batteries are dead," he said. His voice was flat. "You said you put fresh ones in this morning." "I did." He turned around. His face was pale, his eyes wide and darting. "Okay, don't panic. We have the paper map and the compass." She pulled the compass from her pocket. She opened the casing and stared. The needle wasn't pointing north. It wasn't pointing anywhere. It was spinning, lazily, rhythmically, counterclockwise, round and round and round. "Magnetic interference," Leo muttered, stepping closer to her. He smelled like fear, sour sweat, and adrenaline. "There must be iron deposits here. We just keep walking straight. We have to hit a road eventually." "Leo, look at that tree." Jenna pointed to a massive oak on their left. It had a distinctive deformity, a large burl on the trunk that looked shockingly like a human ear. It was grotesque, swollen, and detailed. "What about it?" "We passed it 40 minutes ago. I remember thinking it looked like it was listening to us." "Impossible. We've been walking in a straight line." "We're walking in circles, Leo." "We are not," he snapped, the anger returning to mask the fear. "We are moving forward. Come on!" He turned and marched into the fog. Jenna hesitated. She looked at the tree with the ear. She could have sworn that 40 minutes ago, the ear had been on the other side of the trunk. She tightened her pack and followed her husband into the gray. Part 2. The Echoes. Night didn't fall. The gray just turned to black. It was absolute darkness, the kind that feels solid against your eyes. They set up the tent in a small depression between two boulders. They didn't build a fire. Everything was too damp, and neither of them had the energy to fight the wet wood. They ate cold granola bars in the tent, the nylon walls pressing in on them. "I'm sorry," Lear said eventually. It was the first time he'd apologized in months. "I got us lost." Jenna reached out and took his hand. It was ice cold. "We'll find the way out tomorrow. The sun will rise, the fog will lift, and we'll see the ridge." They lay in their sleeping bags, listening to the nothingness. Jenna drifted into a restless sleep, plagued by dreams of twisting roots wrapping around her ankles. She woke with a start. She lay still. Beside her, Leo was breathing deeply, fast asleep. She checked her watch, 2:13 a.m. Then she heard it. Snap. A twig breaking. Close, maybe 20 feet from the tent. Jenna stiffened. Bears? A cougar? She reached over and squeezed Leo's arm. He grunted, shifting. "Leo," she hissed, "something's outside." He woke up instantly, his body tensing. "What?" Crunch, crunch, crunch. Footsteps. Heavy, bipedal footsteps. It wasn't the four-legged shuffle of a bear. It was the rhythmic, heel-to-toe cadence of a person walking in heavy boots. They were circling the tent. "Hello? Is that a ranger? We're lost!" Leo called out. His voice shook. The footsteps stopped. Silence stretched, agonizing and thick. Then a voice came from the darkness. "Hello? Is that a ranger? We're lost!" Jenna put her hand over her mouth. It was Leo's voice, but it wasn't an echo. It was perfect, too perfect. It had the same tremor, the same pitch, but it sounded tinny, like it was being played through a high-quality speaker with a slight static undertone. Leo stared at the tent wall, his eyes wide. "Is someone messing with us?" he whispered. "Is that a recording?" From the other side of the tent, right by Jenna's head, the voice spoke again. "Is someone messing with us?" This time the voice wasn't Leo's. It was Jenna's. It was a snippet of something she had said hours ago on the trail. "I can barely see you." But the tone was twisted into a giggle. "I can barely see you. I can barely see you. Barely see you." Leo unzipped the tent flap in a frenzy, shining his flashlight into the dark. "Get the hell away from us," he screamed. "I have a gun!" He didn't have a gun. The beam of light cut through the mist. It revealed the wet ground, the rocks, the twisted trunks of the trees. There was no one there. "Leo, zip it up," Jenna sobbed, pulling him back. "Please, just zip it up." He did. They huddled in the center of the tent, clutching each other. For the next 3 hours, the thing didn't leave. It didn't try to enter the tent. It just walked. Crunch, crunch, crunch. And every few minutes it would cycle through their playlist. "The map is old, Jenna. Don't panic. Batteries are dead." It was learning their vocabulary. It was practicing. As the sun began to turn the black sky to a bruised purple, the footsteps finally walked away, fading into the deep woods. Part 3. The Separation. They didn't speak while they packed. They moved with the frantic urgency of prey. They left the tent. They left the cooking gear. They just took water and the first aid kit. "We go downhill," Leo said. His eyes were red-rimmed and wild. "Water flows down. We find water, we find a river, we find people." They ran more than walked. The fog was still there, clinging to the ground like spider webs. Around noon they found the stream. It was a sluggish, black trickle of water cutting through the rocks. "Thank God," he rasped. He knelt to splash water on his face. Jenna looked around. The woods felt tighter here. The trees were leaning in closer. "Leo, we need to keep moving." "Wait," Leo said. He stood up, looking across the stream. "Do you see that?" "See what?" "A trail marker, a white blaze on that birch tree." He pointed across the water, into a dense thicket of rhododendrons. Jenna squinted. She saw a flash of white. "I think so?" "I'm going to check it. If it's the AT, we're saved." "I'll come with you." "No," Leo said. "The undergrowth is too thick. You're exhausted. Sit on this rock, drink some water. I'll go 20 yards in, check the marker, and come right back. I won't leave your sight line." "Leo, don't!" "I can see it from here, Jen. 2 minutes, please. I need to know we're on the right path." He didn't wait for her answer. He splashed across the shallow stream and pushed into the bushes. Jenna watched him. She saw his blue rain jacket cutting through the green and gray. She counted the seconds. 1, 2, 10, 30. She saw him reach the birch tree. He stopped. He reached out and touched the white mark. Then he turned his head sharply to the right, looking deeper into the woods. "Leo!" she called. He didn't turn back to her. He took a step into the fog. "Leo, come back!" He took another step. Then he started to run, not away from something, but toward something. He sprinted into the mist, vanishing instantly. "Leo!" she screamed. She scrambled across the stream, slipping on mossy rocks, soaking her boots. She tore through the rhododendrons. "Leo!" She reached the birch tree. She froze. It wasn't a trailblaze. It was a patch of white fungus growing on the bark. It looked exactly like paint from a distance. But that wasn't what made her blood turn to ice. Scratched into the bark of the birch tree, fresh and oozing sap, were words. But they weren't written in English. They were geometric patterns, spirals, angles, and in the center of the spiral, a perfect carving of the burl she had seen yesterday, the ear. "Leo!" She spun around. Leo's voice. It came from the direction she had just come from, back across the stream. "Leo, help me!" "Leo?" She ran back to the water's edge. The mist swirled over the stream. "Jenna, I fell. I'm hurt." The voice was coming from downstream, about 50 yards away, obscured by a bend in the river and the fog. "I'm coming," she yelled. She started scrambling over the rocks, following the water. "Keep talking so I can find you." "Keep talking so I can find you," Leo's voice yelled back. Jenna stopped. She skidded to a halt on the wet stones. The repetition, it was exact. "Leo?" she whispered. "Leo?" the voice called back. But this time it sounded different. It sounded wet, gurgling, as if the throat producing the sound was filled with fluid. "Tell me something only you know. What did you give me for our 5th anniversary?" Silence. The rushing of the water seemed to get louder. Then the voice spoke. It didn't answer the question. "The map is old, Jenna. Simple geometry. Simple geometry." It wasn't him. Jenna backed away from the downstream bend. She backed up until her heels hit the soft mud of the bank. Then, from upstream, the opposite direction, she heard a whistle. It was a specific tune, Yellow Submarine. Leo whistled it when he was nervous. It was faint, weak, but distinct. Jenna looked upstream, then downstream. Downstream, the gurgling voice called out again. "Jenna, my leg, it's broken!" Upstream, The whistling continued. She had to choose. The voice sounded like him, but it was repeating her words. The whistle was just a melody. Jenna turned and ran upstream, away from the voice. "Where are you going, Jenna?" The voice downstream screamed. It wasn't a human scream anymore. It was a high-pitched, metallic shriek that tore through the air like grinding gears. "Where are you going?" She didn't look back. She ran until her lungs burned. She ran until the stream widened into a dark, still pool. And there, sitting on a log, his head in his hands, was Leo. He looked up as she crashed through the brush. His face was scratched, his jacket torn. He looked at her with wide, terrified eyes. "Jenna?" he whispered. She stopped 10 feet away. She picked up a heavy rock. "What did you give me for our 5th anniversary?" she demanded, breathless. Leo blinked. He looked at the rock in her hand, then at her face. A telescope, because you said you wanted to see the rings of Saturn." Jenna dropped the rock and collapsed into his arms. I heard you downstream. It sounded exactly like you." Leo held her tight. He was shaking violently. "I heard you too, Jen. I heard you screaming for help back in the woods. I almost ran to it, but then I heard you laughing, and I knew it wasn't you. We have to go, right now." Part 4. The Cabin. They moved together, hand in hand, gripping so tight their knuckles were white. They followed the stream, ignoring the voices. And there were voices. Sometimes they sounded like Jenna, sometimes like Leo. Sometimes they sounded like Jenna's mother or Leo's childhood friend. The fog seemed to be populated by a choir of everyone they had ever known, calling from just out of sight. "Over here! Found the trail! Look out!" They stared straight ahead. As the light began to fade into the second evening, a gray, sickly twilight, they saw a shape loom out from the mist. It wasn't a rock. It was a structure. A cabin. It was ancient, the wood black with rot, the roof sagging. The windows were dark, gaping holes. "No," Leo said. "No, we're not going in there." "We can't stay out here another night, Leo. The temperature is dropping, and that thing is following us." As if on cue, a sound came from the woods behind them, a mimicry of a zipper opening. Zzz, followed by the sound of nylon rustling. "It's close," Leo said. Okay, inside, quickly." They ran for the door. It had no hinges. It was just a slab of wood propped against the frame. They squeezed inside and shoved the heavy door back into place, wedging a rotting table against it. The inside of the cabin was dry, smelling of dust and dried mice. There was a stone fireplace. "Check the windows," Leo commanded. They grabbed loose planks from the floor and jammed them over the window openings. It wasn't secure, but it broke the line of sight. They huddled in the corner, furthest from the door. Night fell, and the sounds started immediately. Thuds against the walls, not hard, but testing, like someone knocking on a door to see if it was hollow. Knock, knock, knock. Then the scratching, long, slow scratches down the exterior wood. "Leo," Jenna whispered, "look at the fireplace." Leo shined the light. Above the mantel, scratched into the stone, was the spiral, the same geometric pattern from the tree, and below it, scratched over and over, were tally marks, hundreds of them. "Someone was here," Leo said. "Someone was trapped here. Or someone was keeping count," Jenna said. The noises outside stopped. Then a voice spoke from right outside the door. It was no longer using their voices. It spoke in a low, vibrating hum that rattled Jenna's teeth. It wasn't a language. It was a series of sounds, clicks, whistles, and low-frequency thrums that sounded like rocks grinding together deep underground. Then it switched to English. "It open," it said. The voice was smooth, cultured, and terrifyingly calm. "Open the door, Jenna. Leo is hurt." Jenna looked at Leo. He was gripping her hand. "Leo is dead, Jenna. You're holding a corpse. Open the door." Jenna flinched. She looked at Leo. He was pale, sweating, his eyes wide with fear. He squeezed her hand. "Don't listen to it. It's right here. I'm right here." "Look at his neck, Jenna," the voice purred. Jenna looked. Leo was wearing a high-collared fleece. "Don't," Leo said. His voice was strained. "Jenna, don't look at me like that." "Look at his neck." Jenna reached out, her hand trembling, and pulled down the collar of Leo's fleece. The skin was smooth, unblemished. She let out a breath. "It's lying. You're okay." Leo smiled. "See? I told you." He smiled, and he kept smiling. The corners of his mouth twitched, pulling up, 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 too high. The skin of his cheeks stretched unnaturally, tight like parchment. "Leo?" "I told you," but his lips didn't move. The voice came from his chest. Jenna scrambled back, hitting the wall. The thing that looked like Leo stood up. Its movements were jerky, like a marionette with tangled strings. "I told you," it said again. The voice was changing. It was sliding into the metallic, grinding screech she had heard by the river. "Where is he?" Jenna screamed. "Where is Leo?" The creature's face began to ripple. The nose flattened, the eyes widened, the pupils dissolved into milky white pools. "Simple geometry," the thing said. It took a step toward her. Jenna grabbed a heavy, rusted iron poker from the fireplace. She swung it with everything she had. It connected with the thing's shoulder. There was no crack of bone. There was a wet, squelching sound, like hitting a bag of rotten fruit. The arm hung limp, but the creature didn't scream. It just tilted its head, the neck snapping at a 90-degree angle. Jenna turned and threw herself at the window. She smashed through the rotting planks, tumbling out into the cold night air. She hit the ground hard, rolling in the dirt. She scrambled up and ran. She didn't know where she was running. She just ran into the dark, into the fog. Behind her, from the cabin, she heard a sound that would haunt her for the rest of her short life. She heard Leo screaming, real screaming, the sound of a man in absolute mortal agony. "Jenna, it found me! Oh God, Jenna, it's in the cabin! Help me!" But underneath the screaming, she heard the other sound, the wet, rhythmic crunch, crunch, crunch of boots following her. Part 5. The Road. Jenna ran until her legs gave out. She collapsed on a bed of pine needles, gasping for air, waiting for the blow to come. It didn't. She lay there for hours, shivering until the sky began to lighten. Gray turned to white. The fog lifted. She lifted her head. 10 feet in front of her was black asphalt, a yellow line, a road. She crawled toward it. She pulled herself onto the pavement. It was cold and rough, and the most beautiful thing she had ever felt. A car rounded the bend, a station wagon. It swerved, screeching to a halt. A couple jumped out. "Oh my God, are you okay?" Jenna couldn't speak. She just pointed back at the woods. "Leo, my husband, he's still in there." The woman wrapped a blanket around Jenna. "We'll get help. We'll call the Rangers." Epilogue. The search lasted for 2 weeks. They found the tent. They found the discarded backpacks. They found the cabin. They never found Leo. Jenna sat in the ranger station, staring at the wall map. The topographical lines swirled like fingerprints. We swept the grid. We checked the cabin. There was no sign of him, ma'am. No sign of a struggle. Just his wedding ring, sitting on the mantelpiece. He placed the gold band on the table. Jenna stared at it. "There's one other thing," the ranger said. He looked uncomfortable. "We found his voice recorder, for bird watching. It was in the cabin." "Did you play it?" Jenna whispered. "We did. It doesn't make much sense." "Play it." The ranger pressed the button. Static filled the room. Then Leo's voice. He sounded calm, rational. "Day 2. I've lost Jenna. I think she went downstream. I'm circling back to the cabin. I'll wait for her there." A pause. Then a rustling sound. Then Leo's voice again, but closer to the microphone. "She's here. I hear her outside. She's scratching on the walls. She sounds hurt." Another pause. "She's knocking. She wants me to open the door. She keeps saying my name, but she's saying it backward." The static grew louder. "I'm going to open the door. I have to help her." Then the sound of the heavy wooden door sliding open. Silence for 10 seconds. Then a voice. It wasn't Leo's, and it wasn't Jenna's. It was the sound of the ranger, the man currently sitting across from Jenna. "Is anyone there?" the voice on the tape said. Then a click. The tape ended. The ranger turned pale. I never said that. I wasn't there." Jenna picked up the ring. She stood up. She walked to the window and looked out at the mountains, rising purple and majestic in the distance. "He's not dead," Jenna said softly. "Ma'am?" "He's not dead," she repeated. She looked at the reflection of her own face in the glass. For a second, just a second, the reflection blinked when she didn't. "He's just part of the geometry now,"